We're talking about different types of ownership or tenancy. We have sole versus concurrent ownership. Sole is when it's only your name on the deed, you are the only one that owns it. And then we have concurrent ownership when there's two or more persons own the property at the same time. We've got three types of concurrent ownership: tenancy in common, joint tenancy, tenancy by the entireties. When you own it by yourself, sole ownership. Let's have a look at a better example here. So this is a person that owns a property, owns it in severalty, went down to the title office, got the deed at the particular date in time, and owns the property 100%, owns all of the property 100%. When that person dies, the only way it can go is according to his will, or his heirs will receive it. So we say heirs inherit. If there's more than two people, we've got three people here for example, and they decide that they want to own a piece of property, it doesn't have to be all bought at the same time. Maybe the purple gal here buys a property, then decides next year to sell maybe 20 or 30% of her ownership of the property to the guy with the glasses, or and so forth. Then what we call this is tenancy or tenants in common. In other words, it can be on three different deeds. Sometimes it can be on one deed if they all go along and decide to receive the property together, but nevertheless it will be mentioned that they will own it tenants in common. It can be on different dates that they go along and receive a deed for their share of the property. But once again, they can, they can actually own different percentages, 50%, 20% and 30%. And back here we saw, let me just race back, we saw it said undivided possession. That means it's not that you own the first floor, I own the second floor, and that sort of thing. Is that we all have our percentage share of all of the property. Swimming pools, clubhouses and stuff like that, if that's the case. And then when one of them dies, it goes to their heirs as outlined in a will or decided by the probate court. Let's supposing we got these three now, but they were brothers and sisters, or they joint partners, or whatever. It doesn't really matter. But in this particular case, they want that if my share should, if I should die, my share will go to the other two. So this is called joint. Thing about this though, they all have to traipse down to the title office to get the deed at the same time, and there will be their names as held as joint tenants. It has to be done at the same time, and they have to have equal percentages. And once again, when someone dies, that will go to the other two, survivorship. And entireties, the law regards a marriage as an entire entity. So in this particular case, it's a married couple, and it could be man and man in states that allow that sort of thing. Entireties, one deed, down at the title office, and the marriage owns the property 100%. There's no equal share, because the marriage is what is regarded as the entity. And therefore, when one dies, it automatically goes to the other. Here's an example here. Let's have a look at joint tenancy. We've got Tom, Dick and Harry. They decide that they're going to buy a property between them, and they want their share to go to the other two. So let's supposing one of them dies. I don't know who's going to die. Who do you think? Harry. Poor old Harry. There he goes. So what's happened to his share is going to go over to Dick and Tom, 50%. And then if another one dies, who's going to die? Oh, it's going to be Dick. Poor old Dick. So therefore, Tom will get his 50%, and therefore he'll own it as a sole owner in severalty. Let's suppose and go back to the beginning and say, listen, Harry's had enough of the other two and decides to pull out and sell his particular share. Depending on what the terms are, he may have to have permission from Tom and Dick, or he can just do it unilaterally. And he sells it to Mary. So Tom and Dick still hold joint tenancy, but Harry is now out of there, and now Mary owns it in common with those two. Mary, when she dies, will go to her heirs, and if Dick dies, for instance, then Tom will inherit his share. And then if Mary wants to step inside there, what she will have to do to become a joint owner, she'll have to purchase what it would be 17%, so they can both have 50 and 50% to become joint owners. So that's how that works. Do remember the 4 different types. Let's go back here. There we go. Severalty, common, joint, and the entireties. Thanks very much.